or 4 years old, and I realized that I could freehand draw mazes, and they worked all the way through, and I could make them as big as I wanted, and I would sit for just hours at a time and draw these mazes, and I would be in daycare, and they knew exactly how to keep me quiet. They just gave me a piece of paper and a crayon, and I would draw mazes all day long.
How has the maze led you throughout your career?
Well, mazes are really about, when you're drawing them, they're really about logicality, but there's such a flow, and you don't really know when you're making them, or for me personally, when I make them, I don't really know where it's headed. I know it's headed to an end point, but I just have to figure out how to connect those two lines.
Was there an evolution of the maze into something else?
I ended up starting to draw life objects, and human figure drawing was something I was really interested in for a very long time, as well as ink and painting, and I dabbled in a lot of mediums, and one of my favorites that I got to dabble in was oil painting, and it's been quite a weird little journey between different mediums, between music and between the physical art and the performing arts and theater, and it really expanded into wanting to try and not be good at, but just try just as many mediums as I can possibly try.
Yeah, do you think that's what landed you being primarily in the theater now?
What landed me primarily in the theater was I caught the bug for it in high school, and I acted in 3 plays before I decided to go into the lighting aspects of it, and I think that was one of the reasons I was far more open to the arts because of this progression of being allowed to create, and creating is something in the theater that I think is so unique because it's a group of us creating.
Yeah. Is there anything or anybody that inspires you right now to create?
Well, my mentor, Chanan, at the University of Idaho, really, he is pushing me very, very far. And it's always a good thing in art to be pushed. It's always a good thing to just jump off the ledge. And that's an individual who is inspiring me right now to try harder, work harder, and produce better work. And also just one of the constants has been Jane Childs, who through many of the quotes over the week I got to attend Stagecraft Institute, instilled quite a few quotes that really have been some of the foundational work for the work I've been producing the last year and a half.
Where does art and creativity fit in today's America, do you think?
Well, this is a really tricky topic, really, because I remember reading The Art of Cruelty, A Reckoning by Maggie Nelson, and one of the things that was in the book was that, like, thinking is now considered like an elitist activity. And with art, I think that we're capable of creating a concoction of beauty and not beauty, and sometimes even the ugliest things can be the most beautiful things, that we allow the audience to digest and think in a manner that does not feel elitist. It feels human. And I think that in turn allows for the arts to have a solid grounding within society. It's within society and a provocation of society. The arts in general.
Yeah. Do you think that art informs society, or does society inform art?
I've read many different takes on this.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm asking.
I believe Edward Hooper, one of my favorite artists, has a quote on this, and I'm not gonna butcher his quote, but it's more about that art needs to reflect society, and a nation's art is greatest when it reflects the people. I think that's a very strong argument, and it's such a simple quote. But at the same time, going through Maggie Nelson's approach of the avant-garde, like film and media, that we cannot rape our audience into realization.
Yeah.
And so, really, I find faults within both stances, but I tend to lean more to art informing society.
Do you think that as we're seeing such a big movement right now politically, particularly in response to certain administrative people, in response to policies that's happening right now, in response to our Supreme Court hearings that are happening at the moment, where do you see the arts coming in to make an impact on what's happening?
Well, I recently was a Spiegel tent lighting designer, and it's just a tent in upstate New York. There's one of 30 tents around the world in upstate New York that we did a lot of queer cabaret and a lot of comedy and a lot of concerts, and the arts can have a very big impact on people. It had a very large impact on me seeing those shows and how political those shows are, and how people can be truthful in that. And truth is one of the things that needs to come out in a manner that can be digested, and I think art is posed to do that.
How do you reach the people that might need it most? As in, like, we're both queer identifying, we both work in a lot of queer venues, a lot of queer storytelling. And what about people like Mike Pence, who could really benefit from experiencing a political storyteller and digest it in a way that could affect his influence on people and affect his opinion on people? How do you reach people like that? Like, maybe not him specifically because he's the vice president now and he's probably untouchable, but how do you reach some people like that might need to broaden their horizons?
That's a difficult question. Really, I believe, and this is coming from my experience as a trans woman, there are people you can talk to and show them. There are people you cannot. There are simply people who are so stuck that no matter the amount of facts or alternative facts you give to them, you just cannot get through to them. And I try now not to waste my time on them. I simply abandon their presence.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a self-respect.
Yeah. Great. Do you, as we look at like arts education, especially because there's, it's becoming harder and harder for departments to expand, for K through 12 systems to incorporate arts into their curriculum. Do you think if there was a way to get the arts back into like early childhood education, that we could maybe start to rectify and redistribute empathy into certain groups and certain communities?
Yes, absolutely. I think when we're kids, what do? We play pretend.
Yeah.
We act. That we're born actors.
Yeah.
And as we go through, we begin getting really rigid within. This is I. This is me. This is us as a whole. And through that, we really lose the connection to the others, because when you're acting with someone, you cannot, if it's a two-person scene, you cannot think of them as a rival. You have to think of them as a partner, even if you're playing the rival.
Yeah.
And when you begin gaining that empathy with more and more people on the stage, off the stage, in K through 12 theater, then you really gain a perspective on the United States as a whole and in the world as a whole.
Looking at your creativity and where it is right now, and kind of what you're working on and what you're focusing on in terms of your growth, where do you think your creativity is going to take you in the future? Like, what are things that you're thinking, oh, this is now possible for me, or this is something I haven't thought of before that I can potentially obtain?
Short term, I'm looking into a work visa for Australia, and long term, I don't wish to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Life's gonna come in the way anyways.
Yeah.
Anything can happen at any moment, and I believe that creativity is really, we are never in stride with it. We are never in stride with creativity. I always believe that creativity is a couple strides ahead of us, egging us forward. And so I leave it up to chance. I might see an ad on Offstage Jobs and be like, oh, I could do that over summer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in Georgia. Okay. Looks like I'm packing.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening. I'd like to thank our producers at Wolf and Thunder Productions. We publish every first and third Thursday of each month. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Podspell. Day by day, remember to create, and create for the good of creating.